Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back from the ad break. You're still watching Prime Live. Now, up next, we are joined by Zwelinzima Vavi, the president of SAFTU, and Firoza Mayet, who is an activist with the global movement to Gaza. Now, both guests are here to discuss the recent interception of the humanitarian flotilla by the Israel regime and the ongoing human rights abuses in Palestine. Now, Zwelinzima brings a wealth of experience as a labor leader in South Africa who's fighting for the rights and dignity of workers and has been a vocal advocate for justice in Palestine. Now, on the other hand, Firoza is very passionate as an activist with the global movement to Gaza, and she's working to raise awareness about the plight of the Palestinian people and advocate for their rights on the global stage. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening to both the guests. Thank you so much for joining us on Prime Life, and welcome.
Good evening to you, and good evening to you, Comrade Firoz, and good evening to all of your listeners.
Thank you so much. I will start off with Firoza, and we will be asking you about the Palestinian struggle, because it's often portrayed as, an intractable and hopeless conflict. And how do you remain optimistic, to continue to fight for justice and liberation in the face of, such injustices?
From my back, please.
Thank you, and good evening to you, to your listeners, and Comrade GS. Yes, I think that all we have is hope, and the Palestinians have shown us what hope is all about, what resilience is all about, what the resistance is all about. And our own history from apartheid, we know that with hope we can overcome. So we continue every day. The Global Sumo Flotilla has shown us that it is only with people power that we can fight a struggle like the Palestinians are fighting a huge a military state that is vicious, that is genocidal, that has all the arms in the world to attack a small civilian population in Gaza.
Thank you so much for that. Now, Zwelinzima, given your experience in, labor movement, can you explain the role that the international solidarity can play in advancing the Palestinian struggle for justice, especially because of the recent, interception of the humanitarian flotilla?
Well, to start with, we would have never ever seen the door of 27th of April 1994 if it was not because of the international solidarity. Nelson Mandela would have died in prison together with Walter Sisulu, Govan Mbeki, Ahmed Kathrada, all of them. Oliver Tambo and thousands of other people were forced into exile, would have died in exile, and would have been buried in shallow graves all over the world. Apartheid will remain intact, and the white racist minority government will still be governing our lives. There will be no talk about human rights and the Constitution of South Africa. There will be no talk of the social development progress that we have registered between 1994 and to date. It is thanks to the global world, the anti-apartheid movements all over the world, the workers refusing to touch goods to South Africa and back to their own countries, the isolation of the apartheid regime through culture and sports, the invasion of the beaches where Springboks used to play in New Zealand and Australia, the all of those actions combined to give us the democracy we're celebrating every day in South Africa. And we're not saying that it was only through international solidarity that we got our freedom. No, but it certainly played a big role. Had the United Nations not declared apartheid as an evil system, we would still be living under the yoke of that oppression until this moment. So today, the people of Palestine are crying out for solidarity from South Africa because ours is still fresh in their memories. We have been into the trenches together with the liberation forces of Palestine, and we have fought a bitter war, unfortunately. Ours came first in 1994. They are being decimated as a nation as we speak. And the United Nations, two committees have now confirmed that Israel is conducting a genocide. 1 million people have already been forced to flee their homes between 1947. The Israel government have now scaled up their attacks on unarmed civilians. Is starving thousands of children to death. And this is not us saying so. This is the World Health Organization and the IPC confirming that there is use of food as a weapon of war against women and children, and their homes are being flattened, and that Gaza is beginning or is becoming inhabitable, and in that if the world does not intervene, the generations and generations to come would have not known that there was an area called Gaza. In fact, Donald Trump have eyed to build a casino in that area so that he and the billionaires from America can have good times on the graves, on top of the bones of thousands and thousands of children, their mothers, and their fathers who are now being flattened with the bombs. So it is in that context that there is now a group of heroes and heroines. We have risked all what we know is about Israel's brutality, as just described in a few minutes now, that they have taken into the ship to organize humanitarian aid in order to bring food. Just imagine, food and water, the most basic necessities of human life, to thousands and thousands. Of course, the United Nations again is on record that Israel is effectively blocking access to food in its deliberate attempt to starve people to death, to starve children to death in northern Palestine, northern Gaza. There is famine as we speak. So it is now intercepting ships that are meant to deliver food and water to the desperate citizens of that area. What a shame that some South Africans are still looking on the other side, and what a shame that some world leaders will still be talking about something else other than the human tragedy, the genocide, the famine that is unfolding just in the same space from which we breathe the same air. We here to demand that Nelson Mandela and the six other I'm sorry, not Nelson Mandela, but his grandson, Mandla Mandela, who's amongst those that have been abducted, together with six other heroes and heroines from South Africa. We have joined over 100 other activists from all over the world. We demand that they be immediately released and that they should be allowed to proceed to Gaza and provide food, and that the Israel government must respect international law and stop what it is currently embarking upon, which is basically to try and wipe off the face of the earth millions of people so that they may not have a home, such as me and you can boastfully say we are proudly South Africans. We have our homes and we have a right to life.
I mean, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now, Firoza, for people who may be unfamiliar with, the Palestinian struggle or unsure about how they can help, what are some practical ways they can get involved and make a difference?
I think the most important thing is to isolate regimes like Israel. They are operating, as Comrade GS has said, with total impunity, and this is enabled by states like the US, Germany, and other Western countries. So what we need to do is firstly boycott all products and companies that operate in occupied Palestinian territories and operate in our countries and support and are complicit with Israel and the genocide. companies like Glencore,
Hello, Global
African
Summit
Rainbow
Flotilla.
Minerals,
Your
and
brushes.
products that come from and companies and products that come from Israel. So boycotts are very important, sanctions are very important, divestment is very important, and that's where our trade unions come in as well to support the solidarity movement in terms of not handling goods that are exported to Israel, specifically coal. We have a huge campaign around the coal embargo. So we are asking all civil society organizations, working class organizations, faith-based organizations to come together around boycott, divestment, and sanctions. That is a tool that was used for South Africa during our dark days of apartheid. It has worked, and it is a tool that we need to now use and intensify. The Global Summit Flotilla, to add, has exposed states who are and have the capability of establishing humanitarian corridors, and they have not done it up to now. And ordinary civilians with small boats have shown the way. And now we need states to open all the borders and make sure that not only the aid goes through, but that Gaza is rebuilt, that the West Bank and the siege of all the villages and towns in the West Bank is opened, and that land is stopped, is not being annexed anymore, that the colonies, the settler colonies in occupied Palestinian territories are dismantled. So that those are the key demands and that we are making, not only to our government to cut all diplomatic and economic ties, but all states to abide by international law, meet their obligations, and not only issue statements that are not worth the paper it's written on.
And Zwelinzima, what concrete actions do you believe that labor unions and other civil society organizations in South Africa and globally can take to support the Palestinian cause and also put pressure on the Israel regime?
Italian workers just this week have shown the way. They are repeating what they have done in the past against South Africa. They have refused to touch any good in their harbors to Israel and from Israel. They are leading in the entire world, and they are inspiring us here in South Africa to follow their good examples. They are reminding South African workers that if it was not because of them from Italy, from other parts of Europe, Asia, particularly Australia, New Zealand, and if it was not because of the Southern American countries, Brazil, Argentina included, we will still be under the apartheid regime as we speak. Our call, just to reiterate what Firoza is saying, our call to the South African trade union movement is simple. We make a claim that we are the products of international solidarity, and that our international slogan says an injury to one is an injury to all. It is now time to put that slogan into practice. It is now time to pledge practical solidarity with the people of Palestine by refusing to touch all goods to and from this racist apartheid country. It is time for workers to develop deeper levels of consciousness, to whenever they go to the shop, look at the labels of the goods before they purchase, and do not support apartheid Israel by purchasing goods from that country. It is time now that we put pressure on the South African government, in particular on the companies that are fueling the genocide in Gaza by sending tons and tons of coal. These include Genco and Patrice Mutsipe's company called the Rainbow Minerals, who are defying every logic in search of profit and sending loads of coal that Israel is using so that it can have even greater possibilities and capacities to wipe off a nation off the face of the world. We need to put pressure on Gen Koye and on the rainbow minerals. We need to ask our government to stop doublespeak. One side, they take the Israel to the International Court of Justice. We all celebrate that. But on the other side, they continue to pursue narrow economic interest of profit maximization by national companies of South Africa who are defying the logic and who are defying the call we are making for the total isolation of the South African government. The South African trade unions are in a very strategic position to spread the gospel to the rest of the African continent and indeed to every part of the world and make a plea to rest of the workers all over that we defeated apartheid in 1994 through solidarity. We need to defeat the apartheid Israel, the genociders, the killers of the children, the people who are forcing thousands of people to die through famine, the people who are defying the United Nations, the people who are using the most sophisticated armory to destroy homes, schools, hospitals, and to destroy everything that a human being needs in order to survive and live a normal life. It is now time on workers, South African workers in particular, who are the major beneficiary of international solidarity, to also reciprocate and to tell the world that we appreciate what they did to end apartheid in South Africa, and therefore we want to lead the struggle in solidarity with the people of Palestine and every other part of the world. By the way, we say exactly the same thing about the unfolding tragedy in the DRC. The same thing we're saying about the unfolding tragedy in South Sudan, and we're still here demanding the end of the blockade of the Cubans, as well as the freedom for the people of Western Sahara who are under occupation of Morocco. It's not us choosing what important issue, but clearly what worries us more about Palestine is the intent of imperialism and colonialism, is the intent of the successive US government to wipe off a country, the whole nation, from the from the face of the earth by arming the Israel Defense Force and give it billions and billions of dollars year in and year out, such that now Israel is the fourth biggest and most dangerous army in the whole world because it is being provided those arms by the Americans.
Most
We welcome
definitely,
that.
Mr. Zwelinzima. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. We're given very limited time since it's a live show. But thank you so much for joining us, and Firoza, for the insightful conversation that we just had, and just for sharing with us the the importance of standing up for the Palestinians and all the other aspects that viewers at home were looking forward to hearing. So thank you so much to the both of you for your time. It was lovely chatting to
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Good evening. Viewers at home, this was a beautiful conversation that I just had with Zwelinzima and Firoza, and we're just talking about, Palestine and the humanitarian flotilla interception that is currently happening.